It is 6 a.m. East African time. A very good morning to you and welcome to TV47 Breakfast. My name is Anio Dida Mengi. Inafanyika nchini and across the region, and that's why we're here, kama kawaida, to keep you updated on everything that you need to know.
Yes. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. It's a special day here on Thursday, the very first Thursday of June. There's a team we sent to Wajir to cover the Madaraka Day celebrations, the 63rd. Walienda Thursday last week, leo ndo wamemanage kurudi.
Imagine.
Ile joto wamesikia. They really enjoyed the trip. One of them is one of our most vocal directors. They never get to be seen on air. But we saw him while he was in Wajir. It's called Emmanuel Enonda. Ni fan wa Man U mbaya sana. His alifika Wajir kama amevaa jeans.
Yes.
Aliona maneno mbaya sana. Alikuwa amevaa kaptula ya jeans, amevaa sijui inaitwa ile basi. Alifika kama amevaa jeans.
Hivyo.
Within 15 minutes of his arrival to Wajir, he had learnt a few things. That you cannot wear jeans in Wajir. So slowly he started downgrading. Nasikia kwanza alikuwa amejaribu kuunda
umbrella. Hiyo ni paper bag.
Kidogo, he has even changed his color. Kidogo even saw him now wearing bas. Ndio hiyo sasa. Amekaa chini ya muti, amefunga leso.
Akakuwa kama Roma. When you go to Roma, behave how they behave.
Akaomba vest. Hapana peleka jeans Wajir bwana. Wewe Manuel unakaa.
Wacha mambo yako. Angena na kinyasa, baby, several kinyasa.
That's one thing we've learned. As we say, every day you learn something new.
Ona engineer.
Do not wear jeans. Yeah, even though walifika, they were trying to look composed. They were trying to look composed. A few minutes later, everything changed. Yeah, that's a team. A crew that did a very good job in Wajir last week to cover the very first time that Madaraka Day celebrations were being held in that corner of the world.
Yes, county 008.
Yes. I'm telling you, even the journey, you know, people think that it's tarmac all the way.
Yeah.
But this is the main highway.
16 hours from Nairobi.
700 kilometers. They had to stop in Garissa. I don't know where else they stopped. I don't know kama ni Habaswein ama wapi. Modogashi. Imagine this, you use such a road for like 200 kilometers.
Wow.
Yeah? 200 kilometers is beyond, from here beyond Nakuru. Yeah. Imagine that. Unakula vumbi through and through. Even the generator was overheating and wakaitafutia umbrella. Na hapa ndio walikuwa nakaa, ndio ile 5-star hotel walikuwa naishi hapo Wajir. I tell you. Lakini huko lazima uketi chini ya mti na uvae leso. That's what we've learned. Anyway, welcome back Emmanuel Enonda from Wajir. You did a good job. Splendid job there covering the Madaraka Day celebrations. All right. Back home, big talking points to continue looking at what happened.
Very interesting scenes there.
Anakunywa tu maji.
Ndio director mwenyewe, Emmanuel Enonda.
Anamwagiwa maji tu hapo, anamwagiwa tu maji. I tell you. All right, I think my wife moved. So yes, big stories about, of course, Ebola, big discussion. Yesterday, the CS for Health appeared before Parliament, and watu wanasema he was a bit too arrogant.
Yes, kama kawaida.
Alisema we will not consult Kenyans on this. We will not.
Yes.
Kwanza hata si ati ana means anasema ati there's no necessity. No, he just said we will not.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a direct question. Why haven't you conducted a public participation on this issue about the quarantine facility? He said, on this one, we will not consult.
Yeah.
Kwa hivyo msituulize maswali kama hayo. We are not going to consult. Yeah.
Ni kuambia tu mtadu.
Mtadu. Anaulizwa story ya koti silisimamisha maneno. Anasema
So? Hey, very interesting CS for Health that we have.
The other big story, of course, what's happening with the continuing investigations and court case against the 9 arson attacks suspects from the Utumishi fire last week. This is a Daily Nation, it's on the front page. But this is a discussion that I'm sure is in all the papers because yesterday the girls appeared before the court. The court was set to rule on whether or not the prosecution can hold them longer. For 30 days they wanted, but the court granted them 3 weeks, 21 days. So they'll be held for an extra 21 days before this case can begin in earnest, and probably by then they may be able to get bail, but kesi imeanza. All right, so these are some of the biggest talking points, and we'll be looking at the dailies to establish that and a lot more. Remember, the budget, presentation of the budget statements. This will just be a summary of the estimates and some of the provisions in the finance bill. That happens next week. It's just a reminder on the 11th of June. So do stand by for this discussion. Getting closer towards that, we'll be talking more about the finance bill and the budget process.
Public hearings and participation in 15 counties.
Yes, and they keep adjusting a few things in the finance bill. So maybe you had read last week, a lot of those things keep being adjusted ahead of the bill being presented. Meanwhile, the president has left the country for South Africa.
South Africa, yeah.
For, is it 3-day state visit? Yeah?
Yeah.
So he's not in the country currently. So to call chini ya prof. Fire, see fire.
All
right. So these are just some of the biggest talking points, and you are welcome to interact with us all along this show through our social media pages on X, TV47 Digital, on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube, it's TV47 Kenya. Later on, we'll be having a very big, very interesting discussion on man-to-man. And we are asking, when dad is missing, who teaches a boy to be a man? Ndo ambiwe maybe siku ile utatoa jeans ufunge leso, it's okay in some areas. But who teaches a boy to be a man when the dad is missing? They say there's a father crisis in Kenya. All right, yeah.
Deadbeats.
Yes?
Deadbeats.
Not necessarily deadbeats. Some may have died. Yeah. Some may be, for one reason or another, not in the country. You know, absence is not just about money.
Let me tell you, lakini, unaona there's a rise.
In deadbeats.
Yes. Deadbeats.
Wewe nafikiri ukipewa ruhusa uconduct hii conversation itakuwa mambo tofauti sana. Itakuwa about deadbeats. No, actually it's broader than that, because some dads are not there, not because they want not to be there, but for other reasons, and we'll be looking at that as well. So do stand by for that conversation coming your way later on the show.
All right, tuangalie hali ya anga kunakaa vipi.
Lakini before that, unawampatia hashtag.
Hashtag ni ebu wapatie
TV47 breakfast, hashtag story ni yetu. You can tag us as well on X at Freddy Ndimuli.
At Annie_Dida. Tuangalie hali ya anga sasa. We start off in Isiolo. Light rains expected today for the first time. Ninaona Isiolo wana expect mvua. This morning it's 19 degrees, highs of 30 degrees expected in that county today. Kitui, it's a partly sunny day. Highs of 27 degrees today. This morning it's 17 degrees. Narok, there will be light rains. 14 degrees this morning. Highs of 23 degrees. That's as far as Isiolo, Kitui, and Narok counties are concerned. Kwale County, it's a partly sunny day today, highs of 29 degrees, and this morning is 23 degrees. Nyandarua, it's a partly sunny day, 9 degrees this morning, highs of 22 degrees expected today. Nairobi, there will be light rains today. This morning is 16 degrees, highs of 24 degrees expected in the capital city today. And that's the state of the weather.
All right, so this being a Thursday and there's so much happening, many questions being asked, let's get some inspiration this morning from the quote of the day.
No need to hurry, no need to sparkle, no need to be anybody but oneself.
All right, and let's take a look at the Standard this morning. I want to start off with the Standard because I don't think we'll revisit this story on the front page. It's about a fugitive CEC. Sakaja dragged to court over Kericha's disappearance due to matters contempt of court. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja is facing possible jail term for reportedly helping his finance CEC Charles Kerich evade imprisonment by facilitating his alleged departure to Dubai, after a court sentenced him for contempt over the county's failure to pay 106.7 million shilling debt to a law firm. Kerich has been sentenced to 3 months in jail, but the order is yet to be effected because he has gone underground, according to the petitioner's lawyers. Sakaja will be in the soup if the court finds that he has a case to answer in the long-running legal battle. I know it is a big story, probably at the county level here in Nairobi. Contempt of court is a big news, yes, but I don't know why. For some reason, I don't feel like this should be on the front page.
No,
yeah, I know it is, and you don't understand the editorial decisions that people have to make. But to be honest, because we are reviewing the papers, this one should have been on page 4 or 5 there. Because they're bigger stories, like what's happening at Utumishi Academy, and probably, and even the matters budget, which I can actually see a lot of the stories inside the pages. What Duale said yesterday about Ebola, Kerich on the run, I don't know, CC on the run.
Mtu huwa wajia kwenye walikuwa anajua Kerich.
Kerich is a journalist actually.
Like,
He's a senior journalist. I've worked with him. But a CC on the run, on the front page of the paper, anyway. There are bigger stories, and actually if you open just the page 2 and 3, those stories are there. Panic hits schools as principals resort to closures of unrest. And it would appear that quite a number of schools have actually been forced to close down. Some of them here in Nairobi. Nairobi, is it Lenana's school has closed down. A number of other schools, I forget, but quite a number of schools have closed down. Naivasha girls, even I'm told even Limuru girls has closed down. So quite a number of schools, principals have been forced to close down the schools because of the threat of unrest and because of what happened at the Utumishi Academy last week. No one wants to take anything for granted. And they don't want to leave anything to chance. So will this continue? There was an argument yesterday in Parliament while they were discussing this that probably it's time for us to get rid of the boarding schools. Do you think we should?
No. Actually went to boarding school when I was in class 4, and I really enjoyed my time in boarding school. I would recommend.
You're one of the few people that I've ever had praising boarding schools. People don't like them. Let
me tell you, I actually loved my experience. That is 9 years in total in boarding school. I would recommend.
I tried boarding school. No, not for me. Anyway, meanwhile, the 9 Utumishi girls suspects have been detained for 21 days. That's still on page 2. And now they're talking about a play in the 2018 drama festivals that actually foretold Utumishi tragedy. Yes, that story in Andikwa, it is titled It Is Well. Yeah, it was by which school?
Cleo Malala, Butere Girls.
It was by Butere Girls?
Yes.
Cleo. That story is on page 3. Yeah, and the MPs pushing for closure of boarding schools is on page 4. You see, now they've dedicated how many pages to those stories? 1, 2, 3, and it's about 6, 7 headlines on that. And I think they must have been under a lot of pressure because that ideally should have been on the front page. Matters budget also getting prominence on page 5. They talk about House Committee slashing executive budget. Mulikuwa mna complain sana. State House is getting a lot, Office of the President is getting a lot because forget about the finance bill. This is where the money should be spent. Initially, they had allocated State House about 16 billion shillings. They've reduced that to 12. Yeah. Now, these are the things you should be able to understand before the budget statement is read next week. Usizushe tu sana ati State House amepewa 16, imekatwa. Office of the Deputy President has also gotten a slash. And it's there on page 5 of this paper. Soma, now some your budget, because as I tell you, before we actually get to that day, a lot more could have changed. So siongee vitu ambayo hujui. Hiyo story ya Sakaja iko huko page 6 where I think it should have been left there. But anyway, I'm not the editor at the Standard.
Siwafunze kazi.
Siwafunzi kazi. Na siwezi jaribu kuwafunza kazi. Matters finance bill, Ruto plots land rent fixes to boost revenue. That is on the finance bill. That story is on page 7.
Page 8.
Page 7.
Ebu angalia story page 8.
Page 8, yeah, we won't listen. Duale says Ebola plan unstoppable. Ata koti iseme nini. So it's unstoppable. And we shall not listen to Kenyans. That's what he is saying, honestly. And he's telling MPs, and they can do nothing to him. Yeah? Because, okay, fine. I think there's a better way to explain this. There's a way he would have told us this better. Probably at this point, there was too much emergency or pressing needs with this emergency, and we did it, and probably Kenyans need to understand us for that, and we do apologize. It's how you communicate. We will not listen to Kenyans on this one.
Hakukuwa na pressing needs
Hapana, hata
wewe.
kama ni communications bana. Anyway, page 8.
Yeah.
So those are the main stories. Page 9, a focus on the World Cup, and not page 9, page 40. Really back page as standard. Due brothers take different paths to 2026 FIFA World Cup. These are brothers Desiree and Guela Due, who are meeting in... the siblings will represent different national teams in the World Cup. Yeah. Kuna mmoja wa France na mwingine kwa Colombia. Yeah, but they are brothers. Kumbuke DRC wanaenda World Cup. Hata wakiwa na Ebola. They are the only African country, not the only one, but at least in this region, DRC are representing us. To the World Cup. Starting next week, 11th. All right, that's a standard today.
Sawa.
Amemalizana nayo, sirudi hapa.
Daily Nation. Tension in schools. That's the main headline on the front page of this paper today. Red flag. The National Parents Association wants urgent action taken to address rising student unrest. They talk about sudden closures, that a wave of disturbance sweeping across the country leading to the death of 16 students in a Gilgil school. Fire has forced the premature closure of institutions. Na zimekuwa mentioned vizuri hapa, we talked about them hapa kwa The Standard. They're talking about, nimeona Moi Forces Academy, LANET.
Na ujue kwanza ni ya jeshi.
Yes. Hata utumishi ni ya jeshi.
Ya polisi.
Ya polisi. Wametaja hapa pia Kiangunyi Girls High School kule Murang'a, Loreto Girls, Gitugi Girls, Njumbi High kule Murang'a, Naivasha Girls, we mentioned them.
And then niliona wakisema ati most of these schools come from one place. Now you've mentioned about 2-3 schools from Murang'a. And then Gasharage school, which immediately after the Utumishi tragedy was also on fire the following day.
Yes.
Also comes from Murang'a.
Shida iko wapi?
What is happening in Murang'a? Yeah.
All right, multiple motives. Authorities blame exams anxiety and unruly students, unresolved grievances, high-handed managers, and copycat cases among reasons for the riots. Interesting.
Copycat cases?
Yeah.
Or just copying what others have done in their schools? Okay.
Kama unaona hii ya Utumishi Girls walikuwa nasema ati waliona unrest Utumishi Boys. So, all right, investigations inaendelea kule. Coming the tide, a nationwide inspection of schools to review safety measures, overcrowding, and foster dialogue between students and teachers to avert conflict. They also talked about the suspects that have been detained for 21 days. There's 9 students blamed for the Utumishi school fire that killed 16 girls to allow detectives complete investigations. Full stories on page 4, 5, and 6. Yes, and the Daily Nation has given this story prominence, Sana, today in this paper. One of the dormitories that were destroyed by a fire at St. Joseph Seminary School on Saturday is also here on the front page. That is St. Joseph Seminary School.
A seminary school?
Eh, jamani. Parents with their children outside Moi Forces Senior School LANET pia wako hapa on the front page after the institution was closed indefinitely yesterday. Ini jana.
Then again, because I know midterm, the official midterm comes around this month.
Yeah.
I think from the 20th, the 3rd week of this month. Probably the government should consider doing it a bit earlier. Just allow the students to go home earlier for midterm to calm the situation.
I think they are going to also normalize this. Students wakijua, they want wakitaka kwenda, what is it called?
Midterm.
Midterm, yeah. So they cause some sort of unrest and then
At this point, I think we're just trying to take caution because fires usually come around, this kind of unrest usually comes during the second term. Back in the day, it used to be people who did not want to do the mock exams. Sasa ni watu wanataka tu kwenda nyumbani.
Yeah. Lakini so wamefungua shule last month.
Washachoka tayari. You know, this is the longest term, 14 weeks. So it's more than 3 months. Yeah, it's 3.5 months long. So I think na kukiendelea hivi, as they said, copycat effect. It's probably wise to put a break on it for a while. Watu waende nyumbani wakule mandazi, when they come back wametulia kidogo.
On the top strip of the Daily Nation this morning, they also make mention of Duale. Protests won't derail US Ebola deal. After recent floods havoc, brace yourself for El Nino. That is according to the World Meteorological Organization. State shelves plan to increase power prices. This is interesting. Manake tulikuwa tushaanza panic that electricity prices will go up this month. but the government has suspended that plan. Yes, and that's the Daily Nation.
All right, the Star newspaper today talks about matters different. This is politics, purely politics on the front page, picking a flag bearer to rival President William Ruto. And Martha Karua of the PLP party has backed calls for science-driven pick of flag bearer. Wacha hii maneno ati wanasema mimi niko na watu wengi, mimi niko na can we do proper polls to pick the flag bearer, because she insists she is also gunning for the presidency. And they've included Sifuna in this lineup. Kalonzo, Matiang'i, Karua, Gachagua, former speaker, I forget his name. Justin Muturi. And then we include Sifuna hapo. The other story is about Ebola fireworks in Parliament as CS Duale defends US Ebola facility in Laikipia. Interestingly, this minister has been very quiet about this Ebola thing for the longest, until the president finally spoke and said, yes, I'm the one who okayed it. This is a Star in his paper. Right, so yes, those are the stories. Plus the budget. Security, education, 2027 general election dominate 3 trillion budget. And that's the Star. Fresh, independent, different. Grab yourself a copy of this one for 20 shillings. 60 shillings rather, not 20. 20 utapata.
Taifa leo hofu shuleni. They make mention of that story, whatever is happening, the school unrests. Wanafunzi 8 wa utumishi ndani siku 21. Unajua wengine wana report wanafunzi 9, wengine 8. Wenye wako huko mtuambie.
Wenye walikuwa kotini ni 8. Ni 9. Ni 9.
All right, roho mkononi kwa Gachagua mahakamani. Wachambuzi wa siasa wasema uamuzi wa wiki ijayo utazua mabadiliko mapya ya kisiasa. The court will rule on this case on 8th. That will be on Monday. Rais kupata miaka zaidi kuhudumu. Washirika wa rais wa Zimbabwe wataka katiba ibadilishwe. Lazima ningesema
ni
Zimbabwe. Wanataka katiba ibadilishwe ili ahudumu miaka 5 zaidi. Wow. Zimbabwe ni kama you guys are seeing good things. Linda Mwananchi sasa yalenga Mlima Kenya. Kundi hilo linalohusishwa na seneta wa Nairobi Edwin Sifuna na mbunge Babu Owino sasa linapanga kufanya mkutano mkubwa mjini Thika mnamo Juni tarehe 14. Na masuala ya spoti pia katika ukurasa wa mbele, mechi ya Haiti na DRC, hati kuhusu Ebola. Haiti pia wanaenda World Cup.
Haiti hata hawana serikali.
Wow.
Wanaenda World Cup.
Wow.
Na wale wengine wako na Ebola na wanaenda World Cup. Nyinyi hamna Ebola, mnataka kuleta Ebola hapa. Hata World Cup hamfiki. People Daily. A huge focus on the budget estimates. Ruto's pet projects get huge allocations in 4.8 trillion shilling budget. So they say that the president's flagship programs emerge as some of the biggest winners in 2026-2027 estimates that also factor in 2027 polls. So some of the projects and their allocations, so 135 billion for the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. The budget committee allocated national electricity grid about 7.5 billion. Urban program 18.6 billion and 50 billion for construction of affordable housing units. Na zingine nyingi zaidi ziko hapa, so they've broken down this on page 6, matters budget estimates. And we've always said that people focus a bit too much on the finance bill, which is purely about taxation measures and how revenue will be collected. But once they collect the revenue, what are they spending the money on?
Yes.
And those are the budget estimates. So what has been allocated to education, to health? Kenyans are usually not worried about that, and I don't understand why. Yeah.
Ni kama bado watu hawaelewi.
Mbona usijali pesa zinaenda wapi? Wewe unataka kujali tu utapigwa ushuru. Ushuru ndio utalipa, ndio ujitegemee. Lakini pesa zinaenda wapi? So they've done this on page 6 of the People Daily, and I would encourage you to actually go look at it so that you know State House imepata pesa ngapi, Office of the President imepata ngapi, ni wagani wanakula pesa zaidi ya wengine. Yeah. Pale chini, utumishi girls fire, MPs push for scrap of boarding schools. That's a story we've discussed on other papers, and I think that's on page 8. Pale juu, there's an explainer on why we are seeing so many white butterflies. Have you seen them?
I haven't seen them, lakini nimesikia hizo stories.
There are many butterflies now.
Yeah.
It's a season, probably. It is a season.
Wengine wanasema it's a disaster.
Butterflies?
Yeah.
Signify disaster?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know.
Okay.
All right, that's the People Daily this morning.
All right, Business Daily, Kenyatta's and Ndegwas to get over 22 billion shillings in NCBA deal These are the families of founding President Jomo Kenyatta and former Central Bank of Kenya Governor Philip Ndegwa. That story is on page 2. How fuel protests triggered freeze in electricity tariff hike. We've talked about this as Kenya's president a planned increase in electricity prices from July 1st amid fears of sparking outrage ahead of the elections, dealing a blow to Kenya Power's search for extra revenues. On the ticker, banks warned of new risks from state corporation reforms. Food import bill hits record 82 billion shillings in first quarter as yields drop, and state cuts roads bond targets to 120 billion shillings. That's Business Daily.
All right. Down with the national dailies, let's cross over to Uganda and Tanzania. We see what's happening there. We start off with Uganda. Yesterday, Christians celebrated Martyrs' Day countrywide. We saw that headline on the Daily Monitor saying that the martyrs were actually villains. They should not be celebrated.
Villains?
Yeah, they were not good people. They were traitors, not villains, traitors. Yeah. But anyway, the main focus is on the State of the Nation address by President Yoweri Museveni to Parliament. Ugandans' great expectations. So President Yoweri Museveni will use the address, which also marks the opening of the 12th Parliament, today to bring the country up to speed with his government's report card, including achievements, failures, challenges, and policy direction of the upcoming legislative year. The story is on page 4. The President will address Parliament. The other paper is the New Vision in Uganda. It has images of church leaders and other faithful who celebrated Martyrs' Day, and clerics are calling for end to corruption. But the Bank of Uganda has set cash withdrawal limits in the banks. There are now mixed reactions as new check transaction thresholds are also introduced. In Kenya, you know, you cannot write a check of more than 999,000, one single check.
Why?
That's a rule set by the central bank. So now the Ugandans are doing the same. So kuna ile maximum. So ukiona mtu amekuandikia check ya 5 million shillings, unajua anakudanganya, wachana. All right, in Tanzania, we start off with the Citizen. Putin, that's Vladimir Putin, the Russian president. We are on the Citizen now in Tanzania. Putin hails Samia's state visit a sign of strong ties. So as President William Ruto heads to South Africa, Mama Samia Suluhu Hassan is in Moscow. Russian President Vladimir Putin has described President Samia Suluhu Hassan's decision to make Moscow the destination of a first state visit after inauguration as a strong signal of Tanzania's commitment to deepening relations between the two countries. That's the main focus on the front page. Na wanasema kuna uranium pale pia italeta pesa. Gazeti la Mwananchi ni masuala ya bunge, mnyukano bungeni, Simai aliamsha akidai kuwa Yuda ndani ya serikali, Ado akemea wabunge, CCM kuharibu mijadala, Sumai aonya bunge lisitumike kama chombo cha kuchafuana kisiasa. There's a level of debate happening in the Tanzanian parliament. Watu wanarushiana maneno kweli kweli ni kama kombora. Ziara ya Rais Samia Suluhu Hassan kule Urusi pia iko pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili. Tanzania, Russia kimkakati zaidi. Yes. So focus on the state visit to Russia in Tanzania. Kule kwingine State of the Nation addressed by the President in Uganda. And those are the dailies, both local and regional. Let's take a look at the cartoons this morning. Na cartoon hapa ni kama zimepotea, unaziona. Aha. Niko na yangu hapa ya Standard. Kuna mtu ameroll red carpet for the Americans na amekuja na begi ya pesa. Anasema our aid comes as a package. Package ni nini? Ni pesa. Hakuna matata, lakini ameshika virus kwa ule upande mwingine. Virusi vya Ebola. Yes.
All right. I think that is the same story. And the Star, Trump is here and he's making calls to President William Ruto. Lakini naona Netanyahu pia kwa hapa.
So najua
Ati, what are you doing about my quarantine base?
You know, for the past few months, Trump has just been involved with Israel in the war against Iran.
Yeah.
So I think huyo ndo ako kwa inaitangwa je speed dial. Sasa wameongeza mtu mwingine kwa speed dial, but about the quarantine facility.
Yeah.
Haraka haraka. So if President Trump is making a call, 2 calls every day, one is to Netanyahu, the other one is to our very own.
Lakini I'm seeing a report by the BBC that there's a crazy phone call between Trump and Netanyahu that is complicating Iran talks. Yeah, so
mambo yanageuka, you know, Netanyahu is not interested in slowing down on the attacks on Iran.
Yeah.
But Americans waliona ile ni vita mbaya, ni kama itatuletea maneno.
Yeah.
Hapo lazima kuna issue.
That's the Star.
The Daily Nation, still on Ebola, but this is about the appearance of CS
Duale.
Aden Duale before Parliament yesterday. So on one hand tunaona jamaa amebeba Finance Bill 2026 huko. Ameitoa kwa public participation.
Yeah.
Alafu huyu mwingine anawaambia on Ebola we will not consult.
Yeah.
You can consult about the finance bill, the budget, but on this health risk issue, this outbreak called Ebola,
yeah,
we shall not discuss. Yes.
Kwanza akasema nyinyi mna protest, you are paid to do that.
Kwanza mumelipwa hata kumaandamana. Na mnataka kuconsult, we shall not consult. Na hata hiyo koti ikipeana order, so
yes, yes, so
I tell you, this is Kenya. These are the big discussions this morning. We'll be looking at that. Today we're focusing on matters counties. As we get closer to the budget making process and the presentation of the budget estimates and the budget statement next week by CS Treasury, we'll be looking at the counties today. The counties know that they are set to receive about 15% of the collected revenue in Kenya. Is this enough? Should they be getting more? Or should we decrease? Na tungoje mpaka siku ile watapata national holiday ndo wakuje rais aende huko wamwambie Kenya wanataka.
Do you think they should be getting more?
I think they should, because that was the whole point of devolution.
Lakini hiyo yenye wanapata sai, what are they using it for? How are they using it well to serve the people?
That's a good question.
Counties?
That's a good question. And many are saying, yeah, wao watu kuna corruption wamedevolve, so wasipewe zaidi. But do you agree with that statement? That wasiongezewe?
Me, I agree.
Yeah. All right.
I agree.
Share with us your views, and we'll be trying to get some views from quite a number of urban centers around this country on this. Should counties be getting more money? Interact with us through our social media pages, TV47 Digital, TV47 Kenya on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. The hashtag is TV47 Breakfast, hashtag story ni yetu, lakini nimeambiwa traffic ni lazima. So twende tuangalie mabarabara. All right, and this is how the roads in Nairobi are looking like this Thursday morning. Tumediscover kuna new culprit, not really new, lakini tumekuwa tukiignore you culprit sana. And this is the Eastern Bypass, especially heading towards the direction of the airport. There's always traffic pale. Yes, there's always traffic all the way from Utawala. Yeah? Utawala, I think it's one of the slowest roads in Nairobi. Utawala all the way to the KQ headquarters, especially as you get to that roundabout, your KQ headquarters, inashikana up proper. After that, it doesn't ease much as you get towards that junction, or rather interchange with Outer Ring Road. And after that, it gets even crazy as you get to Cabanas. Hiyo barabara ina shida. Of course, Thika Road kama kawaida na hii tumezoea. A bit of traffic pale KQ kidogo heading towards town. Not much traffic at Kasarani and Garden City today, but immediately after Allsops, pale interchange ya Outer Ring Road na Thika Road, there's a lot of traffic. Very slow driving traffic from drive-in KCA University, and it gets even heavier after Survey, Utalii Drift and Mathare Hospital. It hasn't affected Thika Road, or rather Kiambu Road much. Just a bit of traffic as you get past DCI, heading towards Muthaiga, na kama kawaida pale Pangani interchange, imeshikana bumper to bumper. Jogoo Road, immediately after Manyanja, a bit of slow traffic there. Once you get to Makadara, it gets even heavier, but eases immediately after that, past Likoni Road roundabout and pale Shauri Moyo, kidogo tu pale City Stadium roundabout. After that, Mudhuru hakuna traffic leo, na hata ukifika pale Haile Selassie Avenue, it's not so bad today. So getting into town from the eastern side of the city is not so bad. The major highway ile inakuanga na first floor na ground floor, that's the Mombasa Road, inakuanga na expressway. So from above you can only see the expressway. It's not so bad, and even if you expand it, it's smooth all the way into town. Waiyaki Way, just the same, nothing to worry about. Junction Mall heading towards town, leo kuna traffic kidogo pale. It stretches as far back as the Met area there. So Junction Mall, bit of traffic once you get to that Malo Malo restaurant. Pia kuna traffic Prestige Plaza na pale City Mortuary roundabout. Let's now join our reporter on the ground, Modoni Brenda. Modoni, where are you coming to us from this morning? Good morning again.
A very good morning to you, Fred Indimuli and Ann Odida. And today we are coming to you live from the eastern side of Nairobi. I'm standing right here at the roundabout that joins the Jogoo Road, Lusaka Road, and the Ladhis Road. I'm gonna give my camera person a chance to just pan and show you how traffic is looking. Right now you're staring directly at Jogoo Road, and as you can see, Fred Indimuli, traffic is not that heavy. And when she pans to the other side, that is Lusaka Road, and as well traffic is just starting to build up and it is not that heavy. If you ask me, watu wa Eastlands hapa ni wengi hata kuliko matatu, and if she pans to the other side of the road, you're looking directly at the Ladhis Road. Kwa hivyo, if you're coming from the eastern side of Nairobi into the CBD, then you're lucky today. Traffic is not that heavy. We left Kiambu Road at around 6:01 a.m. Fred Indimuli, na tukikuja hivi traffic was not that heavy, but ukifika pale Thika Road pale Pangani, there was starting to get some bit of a bottleneck traffic. Well, that is how traffic is looking, Fred Indimuli, but I'll be your roaming reporter leo, na tutakuwa tunauliza watu maneno ya county allocations, and I'll be hanging around with Bunge la Mwananchi. Back to you in studio.
All right, thank you so much, Mudhoni Brenda, for that traffic update in around the city. The eastern side, as I told you earlier, not so bad this morning, so you can get to town comfortably. All right, let's take a break right now. We'll be back with more.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Good morning.
You have my rent?
Leo jioni kama tutakuwa tumelipa rent, nauza hii simu yako.
Hamna pesa. I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimewekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Oh my God, he left me. Nitumie ni line. Uko nje kuna Wi-Fi.
Why? Hi-Fi?
Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea.
The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tangulini kero umeka kwa beauty product.
Na ameenda.
Tunafaa tukuwe na logo yetu. Like, si ni brand already.
We won't entertain divas.
No. I'm not dealing with a man child.
Amazing. Nishapenda hii energy.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
My father used to tell me that a hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Reason been more of a mirror of my own ambition. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. For the last time and the first time. Welcome to Connect In, the best experience in East and Central Africa and its environs.
Saturday at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m.
This is a very serious place.
I see that.
Surely. Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair.
All right, welcome back and good morning once again. This is TV47 Breakfast. My name is Fred Indimuli. Time for us to take a look at our big discussion today. Exactly a week before the national budget statement is presented before Parliament by CS for Treasury, today we want to take a look, or at least focus on the counties. Counties and budgets. Are the counties getting enough? And this is one debate that has continued for a while since the advent of devolution in 2010 with the 2010 Constitution. 2013, we got the very first counties. This is almost 13 years later. So devolution established under the 2010 Constitution transferred significant powers and resources to the 47 county governments to promote democracy, equitable development, and service delivery closer to the people, especially in health, agriculture, roads, water, and trade. Counties since then have seen notable gains in infrastructure, health access, and local decision-making since 2013, 13 years later now. But persistent debates question whether they receive adequate funding and whether they should get more. In fact, the question we are asking is, should counties get more allocation? Yes, there have been debates about whether or not they are adequately covering their mandates amid challenges like corruption, capacity gaps, high wage bills, and uneven performance. That is a discussion this morning. To help us with this, we have a governance specialist and also the executive director, County Governance Watch, Kevin Osido. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, friend.
I know this is one of your pet discussions about money that goes to the counties.
Oh yeah, we try.
Yes.
Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
We have Robert Alai, who's an MCA Kilelesho Ward here in Nairobi County as well. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. Thank you.
Bwana Alai. And Murungi Ndai, who's a public finance expert. It's good to have you in studio now.
Thank you so much.
All right. So questions abound about county spending. But before we go there, allow me to pose this question to Robert Alai because it's on the front page of the Daily Nation, the Standard, and I cannot ignore, and it has to do with county spending.
Oh, not even read the newspapers. Okay.
Yes, it's about your CEC for finance and your governor, and it said that because of a bill owed to a law firm, about 106.7 million shillings, that now the CEC finance is on the run, according to this paper, and is being assisted by the governor. Now, this is something that definitely should concern the County Assembly of Nairobi. Is there truth to this, and is it something that should get a front page coverage?
You know, I'm very worried how we treat, especially when we personalize institutional failures, because I think this is an institutional failure. I don't have, you know, much to say about Kerich as a CEC, but what I know is that the moment we move to arresting or jailing, you know, individuals in the counties, we are going to scare professionals from getting jobs in the counties, because I don't think that it's his failure. If the exchequer remittance comes 4 months or so later, And even the county itself is lagging back in budget. And even you're seeing even the national government is coming in and chipping in and saying that, okay, we are going to take up most of your functions and ensure that we help you move along, because we don't want to go to a situation where every time you have to impeach the governor, the county being the center of national issues, it has faced its own share of instability. So I don't know why we take it on courage. I know that if you were to push somebody to the wall, and somebody was supposed to be answerable, I think you needed to push the governor to the wall. But the moment we take individuals and you tell them that you're going to spend time in jail because the county was not able to get money to pay a lawyer, then what I know is going to happen in the counties, especially the very desperate counties in the rural areas where most of the time is a very poor county. Professionals are going to say that, oh, I don't want to touch that job because I might end up in jail because the government failed to remit money in time. And that's why I find it very unfortunate to crucify the CEC and put the images of them over this issue. I think it's an issue which, resolution can be found in other ways. And if, I know that the standard is owed also a lot of money. I know that they are owed a lot of money and might... By the county? By the county, and that might be the reason why they're also, pushing the issue very vigorously. So it's very unfortunate, but, I don't know the intention, but yeah.
But it's curious that on a day where we're discussing budgets at the county level, how much they should be getting, there's this question of legal fees. And this is a case of a legal fee that has not been paid, 106 million shillings to a law firm, one single law firm. Yeah. It's a question that keeps recurring. How much counties and even the national government is spending on legal fees, given that within the county structure, there must be a legal office and there are lawyers there. Don't you agree that, yes, this is a real issue, and when we talk about government spending and county spending, this should be looked at as well? Kevin.
Precisely, Fred, and thank you for this invitation. And the broader way of looking at this is what we call pending bills, because this is a pending bill. And to the extent that a service provider who is meant to provide legal services has actually gone to court, it means that we are regressing as a nation, particularly when you look at certain recommendations and prayers that have been made both at the courts, because this is not the only firm that has gone to court. We have service providers who've actually come together, put up a network, gone to court many years back. We also have institutions that have offered services to counties and even national government, ministries, departments, and agencies, and they have not been paid. Remember, Fred, that when you talk about the broader aspect of pending bills, we have had even committees and commissions formed, including one which was chaired by the former Auditor General, Dr. Edward Uko, to be able to guide the country really in terms of what needs to be done. The Controller of Budget has made serious recommendations insofar as how counties are supposed to spend their monies, and especially when it comes to payment of pending bills. So this is a service provider who is getting frustrated, not to buttress and push it further, to also indicate that we have people who have been auctioned. We have families that have lost people just because they've either committed suicide or they had these monies and nothing is showing up, and you end up your life. And then these are related to some of these cases. So this is a call, whether on page 1, I listened to you earlier on talking about whether it's worth being on page 1 or on page 12. But I think the biggest conversation is what are we doing with pending bills, and especially as we talk about budgets. Right now, our counties really concerned that they owe almost 160 billion, around thereabouts. And if you put it together with the national government, we are talking about almost 400 billion that the country owes different people on pending bills. So yes, you are right to indicate that legal fees, and this is purely because when people feel aggrieved, they have to seek for justice. And where you seek for justice is largely through the courts, and the people who go to court are there for lawyers. And so this is just, we are not going into the details of what services they were offering, but you can imagine that there are probably people who are wrongfully dismissed by the county governments, people who probably offered services and they were illegally terminated. You ran to court to seek redress. Many reasons. There are probably services that you offered and the county failed to pay you and paid someone else, in the pretense that they've offered these services and placed your documents, because these are things that we see happening. And so you run to court. So counties have lots of cases, but it is important that as we focus on this legal fee discussion, which is actually on the front page, we look at the broader picture of pending bills and what we can be able to do to address that big concern.
And I know the pending bills cut across different suppliers, but on this issue of legal fees, there's been a lot of criticism on how much government agencies, including county governments, are spending on lawyers and legal services, that probably they are overpriced. And this isn't just one law firm that's seeking 106 million shillings from one county government. And if you look at their bills, legal bills, it could go even into the billions of shillings. You agree that that's a problem that we're yet to look at, especially the devolved systems of government, how much they're spending on lawyers and legal services?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you also for having me here. What you're saying is true. And I would like to look at it in two perspectives. One is this an institution which had been offered maybe an LSO, local service order, to do some work. But now, unfortunately, the work maybe was completed or not completed, but now they want their money. Now, unfortunately, this is also, this has been in the history of the county governments, having served as a CC also, just like Kerich in one of the counties. It has been a way where governance, not really governance, but the executive have had a way of, in one way or another, inviting corruption. Where, you know, when a legal firm or maybe even a consultancy, mostly a legal firm, comes and does some obligations, some assignments. In most cases, we don't go deeper to find what are the details and do these details actually call for this kind of amount. What is the value of the work that you've given? So, and I know I've been close to the county government of Nairobi. They have actually shifted away from offering services, from giving legal firms those assignments to do. And I know, having discussed with some of them, they've hired their own legal individuals to be doing work. And something also which can also be interrogated is when did this pending bill fall due? So when was this service offered? And something also, when it was offered, is what was the type of contract? Was it a legal contract? Was it, were there some kind of push and back that maybe work was not finished and all that? So, and this is why pending bills, as my friend here has said, it is huge. In fact, it's going to almost 200 billion. But now the issue is it well verified? And when it is verified, then it is supposed to be paid. So, and that is where the counties are actually. Every year, counties usually verify their pending bills and they decide to pay and who not to pay. And that is now where the problem comes in. And the best way of paying pending bills is first in, first out. So that pending bills which were incurred in 2013 are prioritized to pending bills which are incurred today. Maybe this is a pending bill which was incurred in 2017 and then it's not been prioritized until today. So the legal firm then feels aggrieved and says, no, I have to come and redress this item.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that is just one facet of this discussion, pending bills. County governments living within their means, the kind of allocations they get. I'm talking about allocations. Of course, there's main sources of funding for Kenyan counties. One, the equitable share, which is unconditional, and it's about 15% of nationally raised revenue. From all the taxes we raise, they need to get 15%. Not 15% of the entire budget. Remember, it's 4.8 trillion shillings. No, nowhere close to that. 15% of what KRA should be collecting. And it's about barely 3 trillion shillings.
It's about 2.6.
Tujafika 3 trillion. So 15% of that amount. I think by the last count, it was about 485 billion shillings going to counties. That could change slightly depending on the revenues collected. There are conditional grants, and these are funds from the national government or donors for specific purposes like health, roads, agriculture, level 5 hospitals, and things like what you're talking about, road maintenance levy, how much you go to counties and stuff like that. Yeah. Then there's own source revenue. How much are they collecting through parking fees and licenses? There's the equalization fund, which is 0.5% of national revenues for marginalized areas like Wajir and the rest, now that we're talking about Wajir. And then there are other donors and grants, private-public partnerships, and minerals royalties in some cases. For example, like Narok gets a lot of money from the national park, Masai Mara. Yes, so
Taita Taveta.
Yes, and the question now is, and this is what we are asking today, are counties getting enough? We'll start with you, Robert Alai. Are counties getting enough? And are they justified to ask for more?
No, I think that that's a question which is a yes and no for me. And it's a yes and no for me because I think that when we devolve some of these functions, we devolve them, but counties have two sources, which is two main sources, which is the own source revenue and also the remittances from exchequer. The others are like grants and so on, and, from development partners. The challenge I have with the county is that we need to have a framework of how to handle especially on-source revenue, because the on-source revenue is so grey that every new governor comes into a county with its own system. They decide who is going to collect the revenue, what is the system going to reveal to whoever is supposed to have access to the system to ensure that there's auditing and the trail is properly accounted for. That is a challenge. I think that the national government, there was a time they were doing it for Nairobi, though it was also a bit of a shady area because even themselves, they are relying on a system like eCitizen to do the collection. So we didn't understand why they were putting this system, which was supposed to help Nairobi City County. I think that we need to have a framework. We need to develop a system with the central bank's guidance through the National Payment Systems Act to ensure that these systems meet a certain criteria of visibility and they are able to be accountable so that they are deployed across the country and the governors can have the control, the county assemblies can have oversight, access over them and so on and so on. Even the internal auditors and so on, we can have them, audit the systems. The on-source revenue is where if there's transparency, we'll say that the county are collecting enough or the county is getting enough or not. I believe a city county like Nairobi or Mombasa or Kisumu should never get exchequer support to the extent that they are getting today.
They're able to raise their own revenue.
I think they should be able to raise their own revenue. The challenge is that we have not structured revenue collection and developed systems because the ICT is also not embraced in the counties. Most of the counties, the most complex ICT system they have is probably an Excel sheet, and it is by design. People believe that a computer will not enable them to be a bit dishonest. But you tell them that garbage in, garbage out. If you want to still, my role as a county assembly representative is to ensure that there's oversight. And, I want to have access. I want to know if you allocated money for this road, was it remitted in time? Because sometimes it's what he said, she said, he said, she said.
And our understanding from many Kenyans is that the county budget making process more or less mirrors what happens at the national level. That you talk about budget estimates, and you also talk about the expected revenue and ways of raising alternative revenue. Does that happen? That's why I say that it's so shady that somebody even said, because I realized that we had 44 point something budget, almost 45 billion budget for the 2025-2026, and I think now this year we are going to do 47 point something billion. Based on what you're getting from the national allocation and own source revenue.
Yes, those projections. When you hear, sometimes you talk of the collections we've made, even the county assembly through the public accounts committee cannot account for that we actually raised the highest amount.
So you don't know how much you raise?
Yes, they're saying 13 billion. We know that we have never, if you go to now the line items, the amount, the provided statements from the account, you cannot see anything more than 9 point something billion. You're being told of 13 billion. You say that, where is the gap of this amount? Then you see even their own Auditor General's report, coming back, they see there's that gap. So the consistency of the public accounts reports, you know, mirror what even the auditors are seeing, that you have not gone beyond 10 billion. Why are you talking about this 13.5? And it's always, it started from 9.5, 10.5, 11.5, 12.5, 13.5. You know, there's a 0.5 which is always like a standard figure. They look like they are authentic enough. So these systems, if we don't open up, so when you say that you're going to raise 10.5, the exchequer remittance is also around, you know, that much. You are barely getting to, the exchequer remittance around 20 billion. So you're barely getting to 30 something. You have a
budget of 47.
Yes, so you have a budget of 9 billion, 10 billion, which that gap, how you're going to bridge it.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, also, you know, the governors, I think, through the budgeting, when, especially for the Nairobi governors, they are under pressure to show that they are doing. And the more the bigger the budget looks, I think they...
And probably that's where the problem is, that is there really pressure to appear to have this huge budget when you know there's no money for that? And doesn't that now, of course, cause this problem we've been discussing, the pending bills, that against a budget of 44 to 47 billion, you can only raise 30. So what happens to the 17 billion shillings? And I think that's even bigger than what the national government is doing in budgetary deficit.
Yeah, precisely. And part of the challenge is that I see a number of things, probably three things. One is that counties have not properly taken advantage of their revenue sources. Because on-source revenue basically means that this is money that you locally generate. It is your own source. So what is it that you are doing locally to be able to raise this revenue? And within county governments, and Mheshimiwa Alai knows, that one of the things that counties normally rely on is what is called the land rates. And many times we have seen adverts everywhere, billboards, you know, 100% waiver, what this, that. But if you go deeper into how this is purely done, there are still gaps. For example, one, do we have a database of all these people who are supposed to pay these land rates? The landlords, landowners, these people, the tenants, etc. And based on the previous annual budget, how did we perform against our projected revenue? Because that's the second thing I'll be talking about, that counties are over-projecting, and that's what Mheshimiwa is talking about. You imagine that you want to collect 13 billion, but really what you know that you can get is not up to 10 or 9 billion. So we have not done very well to be able to engage these landlords, the people who are supposed to give us the revenue. So that, for example, you look at the systems that have been put in place. How is the payment done? Do you know where they are? Do you know who they are? Are you engaging them even to be able to take them through tax education, for example? Because counties have officers called revenue officials that even go to the local markets, which is another stream, you know, because counties have more than about 80 or so revenue streams, from liquor to entertainment to all these wines and spirits. It is all over across the counties. So we have not done very well to be able to take advantage of that. County assemblies have also not helped the executive to be able to fast track the law basically that supports land rates, called the valuation roll. So not up to all counties, I think is about maybe 12 to 16 counties have passed or reviewed the evaluation roll, so that when you talk about payment for an area or acreage of land, you cannot be evaluating that piece of land based on figures of 2013, yeah, because as we speak, I think most evaluation rolls are still backdated to 2013, 2014, 2016. So we need to update them to get to this level, and I'm sure that Nairobi is also grappling with those kind of issues. The second thing, therefore, is the role of KRA. And I have a friend of mine, the CEC for CIA, Mheshimiwa George, who tells me that now there is a very intense process for the county government to work with the Kenya Revenue Authority, so that we have what is called a National Integrated Revenue Collection System. So that we don't have all these separated county, revenue officers doing their own bits, but we have a one system, and that will cure the challenge that Mheshimiwa Alai is talking about, where every governor wants to install their own system. Because digitization is very good, But if you are the only person who decides when to digitize and who you give that tender, you know, there are possibilities that you can actually be able to interfere with the process. So if we can be able to have a credible source like KRA, you know, working with all the counties, and I think that's one other challenge that counties are going through. Who trains the revenue officers down there? In some counties, you see them working with gadgets, you know, and they ask Mama Mbogas for 20 shillings, and then they dial something, and they print a receipt, or they send you something to your phone. But for how long will you be doing that? If you show up every day for 7, 6, okay, say 5 days in a week in a market, or 2 days, and you keep pressing this, who actually underscores how much is collected in all the markets across the county? Because you can imagine a county are having more than 40 or 13 markets, you know, who basically talks about analyzing and auditing how this is done. So there's also room to be able to interfere with maybe some cash receipts, etc. The third thing, Fred, that I see is going back to tax education. When we pay taxes, do we understand why we are paying those taxes? And ultimately, when we pay these taxes, are they commensurate to the services that the citizens are actually receiving? The challenge is that in some of these counties, we have markets that do not even have pit latrines or washrooms. So you have to have your own shop there. You have clients coming in, but sanitation, water, etc. is a function of the county government. How much investment are we putting to be able to make this market look okay, so that the people are able to equate the money that they are paying in terms of taxes and the services that they are getting? So OSR conversations are quite big, and I'm sure that this is one of the biggest discussions that counties are actually grappling with, even moving beyond the roles of the Auditor General and also the Controller of Budget. Fact of the matter again is that a major chunk of the on-source revenue still goes back to healthcare. Because if you look at the monies again that are collected by health facilities, it is money that has to be spent at source. So it goes back to, you know, addressing gaps that are still being left, for example, purchase of drugs, probably equipment, you know, the things that are locally needed to be able to address the challenges that citizens are facing. So the biggest, my biggest recommendation is that counties need to think through what we must do in terms of addressing the real targets of OSR, so that we don't over-project, and then underscore our real sources. What are these real sources? Nairobi can do very well, for example, with liquor, because in this country, in this county, every corner you see wines and spirits, you know, and we have parties, enjoyment every day. How much are we picking as a county insofar as, for example, entertainment, liquor?
That discussion, especially about on-source revenue and integrating KRA, is an interesting one. And I don't know how many counties would be willing to do that, because it also attracts a lot of scrutiny and probably the easy manner in which you can access local collections, probably by the executive, is different. Do you think counties are really interested in having the KRA integrated into their system so that they run the collection of revenue?
Let me answer that, and then I go back to your question, is counties getting really enough? So I'm not sure if counties are really ready to get integrated with the KRA systems. And I'll say for two reasons. One, you see, KRA, they actually collect taxes. But when you look at the counties, about 60% is not actually taxes, it's fee for service. Now, KRA taxes are already there, like say pay as you earn, you know, income and excise and all that, are already there. So services which are offered by the national government are actually collected under the ministries, under AIA. So there is that hard bit of integrating, and Nairobi County really tried, but it goes up to a certain extent. Now, unless KRA themselves comes up with a system that will allow services, fees to be collected through that system. For instance, if maybe a veterinary service officer goes to offer services in a slaughterhouse, it is actually a fee for service. If that guy does not go, then they will not get that money. If that guy goes and gets money through cash, then the county still will not get that money. But now when you sit back and look at what are the taxes in the counties, then we can go the KRA ways, like the land fees, you know, those are taxes. Like the entertainment, those are taxes. We know this liquor store is here. So and this liquor store will be here tomorrow. So I can even be able to even predict and say that next year I'll charge this liquor store. But the mamambogas that we are talking about, they might not come tomorrow. Maybe there is a strike or something like that. So my answer there, Fred, would be not really. And I don't believe there are a lot of counties will be willing to do that. Currently, apart from Nairobi, which had tried just a little bit, I'm not sure of any other county. And having worked closely with the counties, a number of counties, and I can say about 20 counties, are actually doing well with their systems. Others are not. And now the problem is where Mheshimiwa is talking about. When governor comes, they want to come with their own system. So there is lack of sustainability.
So every new governor comes with his own system?
Most of the counties, and we can even interrogate that and see most of the counties, such that even the database of what Kevin was saying and Mwesh was saying, it is actually lost. So I want to know how many shops are here within this street. It's only the other system which had that, but the system that we are having, the data is lost, and that is where the problem actually is. So there has to be a sustainable way of coming up with a system, not actually through KRA. It can neither be through the National Treasury, but with good communication and good understanding with the counties, so that counties can have a buy-in of that kind of automation. Now, the first question, which is very interesting to me, is if counties are getting enough. And my simple answer is they can never get enough. They can never get enough. And the second question is, are they doing enough? And my answer is they are not doing enough. See, in 2022, June, there was a survey done by World Bank in connection with the CRA. And it was found that counties can collect up to 216 billion. Today it's about 300 billion, but how much are they collecting? Last year, they did about 67.3. This year it will be almost about collecting, yes, collectively, 67.3 billion against a potential of 216. And that was 2022, which of course has changed 4 years down the line. Now, why are they not collecting enough? And those are the reasons. So there are a lot of, one, the automation is not actually as well. The second reason is the leakages. That is an obvious reason. The third reason is what Kevin has mentioned. If citizens cannot see what their money is doing, then I won't pay.
They'll be reluctant to pay.
And that's where the problem is. And when you look at, and this is my piece of cake. I've been trying to look at analyzing the own source revenue. And you see last year, and I believe this year, FIF hospital will be very high. Why? Because the hospital team knows that even when I collect, I'll get it back.
Facility Improvement Fund.
Yes, Facility Improvement Fund. It's called FIF. So it's a law which was passed such that when a hospital offers services, that money goes to 800%. And there is also a problem there. There has now been an over-reliance of FIF. Yeah. Almost all the counties in the country, save for Nairobi and some other few countries, more than 50% of their own source revenue comes from the hospitals. So there is a problem.
It goes back 100%.
Yes.
Okay. Let's join our reporter Muthoni Brenda, who's on the streets of Nairobi and is also interrogating the same issue about whether or not counties are getting enough money. Muthoni, good morning once again. Kindly let us know what people in the streets of Nairobi are saying about this issue.
A very good morning to you once again, Fred Indimuli. I'm very pleased to see the guest in studio, especially Mr. Sosido. Me and him had a very insightful conversation, about the viral presidential elections going on at Tenri. So a very good morning to him, Mr. Murungi and Mheshimiwa Robert Alai. I'm coming to you live from Nairobi's TBD here at Bunge la Mwananchi. I'm standing right here at the center of a live Bunge session. And I just want them to join us on
down the conversation for us to understand how they generally feel about devolution and the budget allocation. Habari yako, good morning.
Good morning.
Haya, nikuulize, kwa maoni yako, do you feel that the counties are getting enough money?
Acha niseme ya kwamba mimi naitwa George kutoka bunge la mwananchi Nairobi. Ningetaka kuguzia hili swala la budget and allocations. Ni ukweli kwamba sisi raia ndio tuko mashinani, na sisi tukiwa mashinani tungetaka pesa ziongezewe. Lakini magavana wetu lazima na wao waonyesha ya kwamba hizi pesa zinatumika kwa njia iliyo usawa, kwa sababu kuna hili swala la wage bill limekuwa swala kubwa sana, kwa sababu huwezi niambia ya kwamba county nzima wanatumia 30% ndio tunaona zikienda kwa maendeleo. Unapata 70% zinaenda kwa mambo zingine, which is very wrong. Sisi tunataka hizi pesa ni zetu, na tukiwa huku mashinani tunataka tuone maendeleo. Tungetaka pesa ziongezewe, lakini tujiulize ya kwamba sisi wananchi ni vizuri tujue ya kwamba iwapo kuna ufisadi ndani ya county, au magavana wetu tunaona wanaenda huku mashinani, wanachukua raia, wanachukua wananchi, wanaenda kusema ya kwamba huyu gavana wetu wasiguzwe. Lazima pesa zetu ziwajibike, tuone venye zinafanya kazi huku mashinani. Tungetaka ziongezewe.
Kwa hivyo ziongezewe.
Pesa ziongezewe.
Na je, maoni yako, unaunga mkono the National Assembly yenye inasema counties zipewe 420 million, ama unaunga mkono COG na Senate wenye wanasema hiyo pesa iongezewe?
Mimi nakubaliana na pesa ziongezewe. Like unaona county ya Kiambu inaoneshana devolution ikifanywa accountability kwa stable. My friend, hii Kenya hakuna hata kule northeastern wapi tutakuwa na usawa katika nchi. Ukiangalia kama governor wa Matangi wa Kiambu ameonyeshana, amejenga hospitali, amejenga soko, amejenga barabara, kwa hivyo na mashule. Hiyo ndio accountability. Hata my wish ni kama anaweza kuja asimame Nairobi, then tutajivunia, tutasema hiyo. Kama niliona budget yake anasema anapata 2.5 billion per year. Can you imagine akifewa kama 10 billion atafanya nini na Kiambu? You can imagine how big Kiambu is. Na hii Nairobi, they all competing, si ndio? So you imagine hiyo maendeleo yenye tutataka kama Sakaja kwa Nairobi. Ukiangalia our schools are pathetic, ukiangalia roads. So hizo revenue kama zitakuwa na accountability smart, then we are heading somewhere.
So kwa maoni yako ni kuwa devolution with accountability, yes it works?
Yes, it works very perfectly. Na tukifanya hivyo hata tutakuwa tunatafuta mambo kwenda Singapore, tutakuwa tunatafuta Singapore on our counties. Hata kuna mambo tunangangana, tunatafuta president, tunangangana the governor UP mwenye tuletea maendeleo na ile pesa yetu tunapata.
Alright, asante sana. Na Mr. Kiria, ningependa pia kusikia maoni yako. What are your opinions on the devolution and the county budget allocation?
First of all, thank you, Brenda. Thank you, TV47, for this partnership with Bunge la Mwananchi, especially Bunge la Mwananchi ambassador. I want to take this opportunity to thank you so much. We know you have been busy, but you are back. We wish that this can run from every Monday to every Friday. Please don't go. This is where the world converges in Nairobi and diverges. And I want to say this, my sister Brenda. The idea behind devolution is a very noble idea. You remember where we are coming from, where the central government was controlling everything. That was unfair because it was about who is singing praise songs and praise worshipping the sitting president and the executive. And that has made parts of this country to be marginalized. You can imagine that parts of Northeastern were actually thinking like that they are not part of the country. Actually wangekuambia kwamba Kenya kunaendeleaje, tusalimie wa Kenya. But with devolution, we were aiming that development would be taken there in forms of infrastructure, in forms of schools, in forms of health facilities, which are really, really important. But also, we know that the backbone of this country has been agriculture. There are places in this country that are fertile, but we wanted to see where, irrigation could be done instead of depending on rain-fed, agriculture. We can go to irrigation, but that will require a huge amount of money. But nevertheless, we know that, and we know that Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, before he died, was pushing that at least about 35% of the total revenue that the government collects should be able to go to the county government. We have seen often, times and again, and I'm glad that Robert Alai is there, Mheshimiwa Robert Alai is there. You know, we have this question. Devolution was to be protected by the Senate, but we have seen time and again, who pulls devolution down is actually the National Assembly, which is unfair to us. We understand that there are teething problems, but we must also be very decisive, because if devolution is to work, then devolution requires resources. Those resources are not from the National Assembly, nor from the Senate. These are ours. And it is us, wananchi, who they should be thinking about. You see, I remember that the Constitution said that our legislature, that is our bicameral parliament, was supposed to work on public participation bill, to come with a bill that will make public participation effective. Up to now, they have not done it. It is not the first time that we are seeing them pulling the other side. I like somehow, and I'm not being biased in this case, I like the debate in the Senate. It's mature, it's robust. But the ones, if I may call a spade, that are taking us to the dark ages back with this devolution thing is the National Assembly. Mheshimiwa Robert Alai, what in your considered opinion makes you think, and your colleagues in the National Assembly, that we should not even devote 40%? Because to me, 40% is huge, and it can go a long way to help some of these things. But I also want to say that we also need to rein in on governors, because like the governor of Bungoma the other time procured, I don't know, it is called oxygeneric whatever for 10,000. That is not realistic. So we must make measures that will cushion the money and resources that are going to devolution.
There you have it, a very robust discussion here, Fred Indimuli. And of course, we are standing by here to listen to the answer from Mheshimiwa Robert Alai. Back to you in studio.
Thank you so much, Muthoni Brenda and Bunge la Mwananchi. Thank you for having time for us in this discussion. And a direct question to Robert Alai. And I think you've been taken to the National Assembly. One contributor. But yes, it's true that there are differences between the Senate and the National Assembly on how much should go to the counties. The National Assembly's proposal is 420 billion shillings. The Senate, meanwhile, proposes, I think, 34 billion shillings more, 454. The COG, County Council of Governors, feels it should be about 534, actually 535 billion shillings, thereabout. Even as you clarify your position, how is this push and pull between the National Assembly and the Senate affecting the allocations?
No, I think it's really affecting us, and there's kind of a competition between the two houses, and it's very unfortunate, because the people who end up hurting are the people at the county who expect services, and the services funded by the national government. The challenge, and I think that which was highlighted also in the total revenue collected, if you can imagine that 67 billion shillings only collectively we collect as a whole. You know, even Nairobi itself, Nairobi alone should collect north of 100 billion, you know, in a very comfortable way. The challenge comes when 80% of our economy is informal. So we need to find ways, and the governors fear that conversation, but I think that is something which needs to be handled. Immediately we elect a new governor who is ambitious enough, say that I'm going to have a discussion, I'm going to engage this sector, I'm going to, in Nairobi alone, you know, recently we did a census of mechanics alone, 60 to 70,000 of them. Nairobi, and that's mechanics alone. You're not going to saloonists, carpenters, welders, electricians, plumbers, you know, the people who are operating the informal sector. Nairobi, I think, has the most affluent of the informal sector operatives, but they are not visible to the county or the national government. And I think that is where, if we take, you know, before we even engage the national government, I think we need to improve on the 67 billion. If you check on how much the national government is collecting, I think 67 billion is, we are punching below our capacity. We need to ensure that before we talk about the exchequer allocation, I think we need to push the governors that this thing should be at least 300 billion, you know, moving forward. A county like Nairobi should be able to support even the metropolis counties, you know, the Kiambu, the Machakos, the Kajiado. We need to support them in one way or the other because they also feel the effect of Nairobi as a city and you know, suffer the brunt of it. So even if the two houses are not going to, because the politicians are very difficult a lot, and we created 49 parliaments, you know, Nairobi County Assembly being the second biggest parliament in the country. So sometimes even the differences we have, leave alone the National Assembly and the Senate, the differences we have with the Senate. Sometimes you summon an CEC and the CEC doesn't appear in the assembly. But the next time, or they appear and they say that they can't find the documents, or you give them time. The next time the Senate summons them, they go there with a pickup load. And you ask them that these documents you have been asking them. So you have to chase them in the Senate. When the senators see you, they say that you're not invited, but you ask them, but these are public forum where, you know, you are also supposed to appear in your private capacity as members of the public. So I think that is very unhealthy, but we need to find ways of moving on.
So you're saying this relationship between the National Assembly, the Senate, and even the county assemblies,
yes,
is problematic.
It's very problematic.
And that gentleman actually placed you in the National Assembly.
Yes. You know,
so the problem is actually larger than just between the National Assembly.
Yeah, you know, people don't realize you created, you know, 49 parliament with egos of speakers, clerks. You know, you can see that fight from the county assemblies forum, where the county assemblies forum was, you know, was initiated, was founded to bring in the interests of the county assemblies. Then the clerk said that forum doesn't serve us, so we're going to form our own forum. The speaker said, oh, because the county assemblies forum was supposed to represent the interests of the MCAs first, and the elected politicians were driving it. But the speakers, being the bosses of the county assemblies, made it in the constitution that the leadership can only be from the speakers. You know, so MCA said, this thing doesn't serve us well, so they wanted to form another one. You know, you can see that difference. And if you go to the National Parliament, where they thought that they gave a lot of powers to the Senate, when the senior most went there, they realized, oh, Ikitu haina power. Now the Senate, you know, the fight, even the more allocation to the counties, you've seen the fight between the Senate and National Assemblies. So the National Assemblies, even the facilities improvement funds, and, you know, even the road maintenance levy, the fight, you know, to ensure that the road maintenance levy is shared with the counties. It's been a very big fight. It's just basically competition, which is very unhealthy.
Too much competition.
And it's just politicians fearing losing their power or, you know, their seats. You know.
Okay. And when Robert Alai is the MCA Kileleshwa, member of the County Assembly of Nairobi, just to clarify on that.
Yes, yes.
Now that we're talking about the main allocation, what we call the equitable share. Let's talk about the formula that is used, because that has also been a bone of contention, that probably adopting a different kind of formula where they consider the population and the poverty index, and some people argue that probably some of these metrics are already problematic, and some counties may be disadvantaged because of these metrics. Others may get undue advantage, especially when it comes to poverty index. Do you agree that probably this formula should be relooked at?
The formula is normally relooked. There is a commission called the Commission on, not Commission, but CRA. Yeah, Commission on Revenue Allocation, actually. That the Constitution mandates to be able to make a proposal to the Senate, and then the National Assembly uses that based on the discussions and the negotiations to make appropriations on the budget. Now, remember that when the formula is done, as you rightfully said, there are certain indices that are looked at. It is important to inform our viewers that, and of course all of us, that even as we look at the formula, those indices change based on many things. If you look at the first formula that was done in 2013, taking over from the local authorities by Transition Authority and CRA and the others, including the Senate, there are indices that used to be there that were actually dropped. For example, land capacity, Even for the poverty index, I don't remember seeing it in the formula for 2013. I mean in 2016, moving into 2017. But as we speak right now, it is back. Because remember that there are resources, for example, what we call equalization fund, that goes to marginalized counties. And that marginalization, a lot of times, is narrowed down on what, therefore, the poverty index is supposed to guide in the formula. So there are about 9 to 11 different indices. But the biggest discussion there is the negotiations that happen between the National Assembly and the Senate. Because what CRA does with the formula is just a proposal, and that is what the Constitution actually anticipates, that there is established the Commission on Revenue Allocation that will be able to, within, I think it's every 3 years, I will confirm,
5 years.
Every 5 years, the formula changes, and the indices also change. So what we need to do as citizens is to be able to ramify. What ramification means is that we show cause for those indices. If you look at certain counties, for example, Kiambu and even Meru, if you look at the part of the marginalized counties, you will see counties that you probably do not expect to be receiving the equalization fund. But why they are receiving that fund is because within their wards or areas that do not meet the percentages given for the formula for poverty index.
So Kiambu could be having some wards that are actually very poor or rank very low in the poverty index.
Exactly. But yet, the bigger part of the county is an affluent area. If you go to Meru, for example, the landmass might be very small, but yet within it, there are also wards where there are very poor people. So they will get more, whereas they're actually not supposed to, because if you look at the affluency, I remember this is part of what generated a conversation that we had in 2022 elections. 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling, if you remember that. That was purely based on what formula it is that is used by CRA to be able to make proposals on how the resources are actually disbursed to different counties. But it is important again to know that this is just a proposal. The proposal goes to the Senate, and then of course COG defends it, because within the team that works on the formula together with the CRA is a Council of Governors. So they agree on the formula, they propose it to the Senate, and then there is what is called the division of revenue. Of course, that is also one of the most contentious processes in the budget, which is a law that is passed by the Senate now to be able to authorize the National Assembly to appropriate the monies. A lot of times we have seen this process ending up in courts, where the Council of Governors probably sues the Senate for failure to agree, and then a committee of, say, 9 man or 11 man is put up to be able to negotiate and agree on how this is supposed to be done. If we get it right at the formula level, there should be no need for us to get to negotiation or even to the courts, because then all stakeholders are brought on board, they have a discussion, and I have seen some people, even including ourselves, proposing that there needs to be a lot of public participation processes, so civic awareness on the formula, so that people are also able to present memoranda to justify whether you are a poor county or whether there are certain areas within your county that are poor.
Are we getting more counties needing to feel that they are considered highly in the level of poverty for them to get more?
If you look at that formula, Fred, poverty index actually ranks second, so it has a higher percentage.
So it means the poorer you are.
So the poorer, the poorer you are, the more money you get. And then if you put together all the other indices like agriculture, you bring in population, then chances that you will get more money are higher. So a lot of times again, and that's the reason why even counties that might not be considered very poor want to lock down certain areas and say, we have wards where, in fact, we have very poor people, because the poverty index has a higher percentage. I think it has about 7% or 5%.
Poverty is 12.
You see, 12%. So that's quite.
So more counties want to be considered poor.
Yeah.
But now, when picking up from there, this poverty index is usually a measure that is done by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Yeah. So when they do it, then they give, and unfortunately they don't do it annually. They might do it like after 3 years or after 5 years. And just to pick where he's talking about 45% within this index goes to population. So what is your population? So counties which are highly populated would like that 45 to go high to about 60%. Now, we have also another index of geographic area. So how big is my county? Like for instance, Turkana gets a lot of money because its population is relatively high and the land is also very huge. So it's about 8% when it comes to population. So now when you take population and you take poverty and you take land mass, this is why now, this is why it informs Turkana is about the third or fourth when it comes to allocations, really huge, because it has poverty, it's high, so it gets the 8%. It has population and also geographic. And also within the same formula, about 35% goes to everybody else gets. And then the equalization fund was actually necessitated due to counties which are marginalized from the word go. They didn't have health specifically, they didn't have roads specifically, and also accessibility, you know, electricity. So they get about 0.05. And they started getting, I think, 2022, 2023, that is when they started getting, although they were supposed to have started in 2013. So there was arrears and all that. There is in fact a commission and a CU and a board on equalization fund. So, but this money is actually earmarked to do what and what and what. However, when you talk of marginalization, I also think of a county like Nairobi. We may think that Nairobi do not have marginalized people. When you go to Kibera, for instance, those people are marginalized. They might not get, you know, marginalization means that you want education, but you cannot get as good education as. You want health facilities, but you cannot get as good health facilities are. Marginalization can be lack of access to that item, either due to congestion or due to you lack of that potential power to do it. Marginalization can also be due to it is very far. Like when you go to a place like Wajir, allow me to use Wajir as an example because it is the example in the country today. You walk very far to get to a health facility. So it is hard for you. In Nairobi, when you're in Kibera, to get that health facility can also take you some time because you need maybe some coins in the pocket and maybe you don't have. When it comes to resources, politics is all about allocation of resources. This is why three people comes with proposals. So CRA comes with a proposal and says, we would like counties to be given this amount. Then the COG, the governors, come with their proposal. They say, we would like us to get this amount. Then ultimately, it goes now to the Senate. Then Senate also pushes, says, we would like this amount. Then now it goes now to the National Assembly that says, no, we don't have all that you're talking about. We can only give you this. That is now DORA. DORA is division of revenue. How much in total goes to the counties? And then there is now the CARA, county allocation of revenue, which is now the formula is now put in place to know how much will Laikipia get, how much will Nairobi get, and no other counties. And ultimately, it is always a push and pull, push and pull, push and pull. There's an organ, that ultimately comes, sit down and discusses IBEC, Intergovernmental Economic Council, Budget and Council. So those now they sit down where the COG is there, Senate is there, all those people are there. But ultimately, it is actually approved by the Senate and the National Assembly.
All right, interesting. If you knew how the budget making process and how each county gets what it gets every year, it's one of those discussions that you can actually get lost in it. But anyway, let's now move to Nakuru and see what they're talking about in as far as this discussion. Mike Chalo is our reporter on the ground. Mike, good morning. What are people in Nakuru saying about allocation of amounts of monies to counties, and do they feel it's enough?
Indeed, thank you so much, Fred. As you have put it, we are in Nakuru County, and in the 2025-2026 budget allocation, Nakuru County was among the counties with the highest budget allocation, getting 14 billion just after Nairobi, which got 21 billion, followed by Turkana, Kakamega and Kiambu in that order. And with me this morning I have some of the residents here in Nakuru County who are going to tell me maybe how do they feel about the budget allocation in Kenya, maybe in Nakuru and maybe other counties in Kenya. Asante kwa kutenga muda wako. Tukianza na wewe, pengine kwa maoni yako unahisi serikali ya Kenya ama wizara ya fedha inafanya maamuzi sawa wakati wa kutoa mgao wake katika kaunti?
Jina langu ni Jimmy Wagakafo, mimi ni kiongozi hapa Nakuru. Niseme kwamba katika mgao wa kifedha katika ugatuzi, niseme kwamba hakika tunajua kwamba Nakuru, kama sisi Nakuru tunapata around 15 billion. Na niseme ya kwamba hii pesa ikija katika county, shida yake ni vile ambavyo inaweza kutumika katika kuleta maendeleo katika county. Na niseme ugatuzi uliletwa ili services ziweze kukaribia mwananchi. Lakini wale ambao tunaweka katika uongozi na haswa katika counties, tumeona kwamba wale watu ambao wamelala katika kazi ya kuhakikisha kwamba hizi fedha zikija katika counties zinatumika ni wale ambao ni MCAs wako katika county assembly. Kwa sababu wao ndio macho ya mwananchi na wao ndio wanaweza kuuliza maswali yoyote ile kwa niaba ya mwananchi kwa governor na executive namna ambavyo inaweza kutumika. Tumeona kuna counties ambazo tumeshuhudia kama Murang'a County, Kiambu County, tumeona kazi ikifanyika kule na hakuna maandamano inafanyika kule kwa sababu wananchi wameweza kuridhika na ile kazi ambayo inafanyika, kwa sababu MCAs, County Assembly, imeweza kuwajibika katika kazi ambayo imepewa ya kuhakikisha kwamba fedha zinazokuja katika county zinatumika namna ambavyo inastahili.
Asante sana, asante.
Na pia niseme ya kwamba ukiniruhusu niguzie tu kidogo kuhusu mambo ya hii finance bill ambayo tuko nayo saa hizi, kwa sababu ndio jambo ambalo tunazungumzia. Niseme ya kwamba sisi kama wananchi huku mashinani tunakataana na hii finance bill ya 2026-2027. Na jambo la kwanza niseme, tumeona hii finance bill inaongeza ushuru wa simu. Hizi simu ndizo our Gen Zs wanatumia saa hizi kufanya online jobs. Kwa hivyo finance bill kiongeza simu inamaanisha hao vijana waende katika jobless corner. La pili pia kuna ushuru.
Tutaongelea hiyo finance bill kesho. Asante sana. Amezungumzia wawakilishi wadi, the MCAs. Pengine MCAs wanafaa kufanya nini? Manake amesema allocation iko sawa kwa counties, lakini MCAs hawajibiki kuweza kuhakikisha fedha zile zinatumiwa ipasavyo. Maoni yako ni gani?
Kwanza niseme ninaitwa Sospita Njuguna na mimi ni kiongozi wa Njoro. Niseme kwamba ma-MCA jambo la kwanza wanafaa, nafikiri asilimia kubwa ya ma-MCA na haswa wenye wako Nakuru County ni ukweli labda hawaelewi kazi yao. Kwa sababu kazi ya MCA na serikali na maneno ya devolution zilifanyika hivyo ili kuleta maendeleo kwa mwananchi, ili kuhakikisha huduma zimefika kwa mwananchi. Na ndio maana huwa unaona kwamba tuko na county assembly. County assembly, wakati MCA ameenda county assembly, anaenda kuwakilisha eneo lake. Kwa hivyo yeye ni watu wa eneo la wodi yake akiwa kwenye bunge. Jambo la pili, anatunga sheria. Lazima atunge sheria kulingana na hali ilivyo katika maeneo yake, lakini pia akiangalia kaunti mzima.
Ukizungumza hivyo unamaanisha nini? Kuna swala ambalo linaitwa state capture. Pengine unamaanisha kuna county capture, ma MCA wamewekwa mfukoni na magavana?
Hapo ndipo naelekea, kwa sababu ma MCA asilimia kubwa wenye wako Nakuru County wanaiba wimbo wa governor. Na ndio maana unakuta kwamba kuna stagnated projects. Kwa mfano kama Nakuru County tunapata zaidi ya bilioni 13. Na ikiwa tunapata zaidi ya bilioni 13, nakupa mfano rahisi kama wa Njoro. Njoro kuna hospitali ambayo ni ya referral level 4. Mahali iliachwa na imekaa hapo karibu kwa zaidi ya karibu miaka 4. Kwa nini hii project ikwame? Na niyo project pekee ya kipekee katika wodi ya Njoro. Ukienda Naivasha vile vile, ukienda upande wa Bahati vile vile. Kwa hivyo ninataka kusema hivi, serikali na treasury ni sawa inaachilia hela, Lakini na nyinyi ma MCA, wakati pesa zimefika kwenye kaunti, mnafanya juhudi zipi kuhakikisha pesa hizi zinasaidia wananchi wa kwenu na miradi ya wodi za kwenu?
Asante. Tukimalizia na wewe, pengine uweze kuniambia vigezo ambavyo Wizara ya Fedha na serikali inatumia kuweza kutoa mgao wake kwa kaunti, pengine idadi ya watu, pengine umaskini katika kaunti zile, au vile miundombinu ambayo pengine iko chini. Pengine vigezo hivyo kwa maoni yako na vichukuliaje?
Kwanza niseme mimi najulikana kama Victor Ngatia. Mimi ni kiongozi hapa Nakuru County, na asante sana kwa hilo swali lako. Lakini niseme kwamba mimi kwanza singesumbuliwa sana na hilo jambo la kwamba walitumia miundo mingi ipi kuamua pesa ngapi zinaenda kwa kila county. Nafikiri swali kuu ni kwamba hizi pesa ambazo zimekuwa zikitumwa, je, zinatumika? Kwa sababu kama nilisema upate bilioni 13 ama bilioni 14, je, una uwezo wa kuzitumia? Kwa sababu sijaona kaunti yoyote Kenya hii ambayo ina uwezo so far kwa hizo miaka 13 kutumia zile fedha kikamilifu. Tunaona kaunti kama kuu ya Nakuru kila mwaka lazima turejeshe pesa treasury.
Kwa dakika moja, pengine shida iko wapi?
Shida ni kwamba hatuna ile commitment. Ningesema number one, tukiangalia katika county assembly, nimesikia tu wenzangu wamezungumzia ma MCAs kwa sana, lakini ni ukweli kwamba kazi ambao ama shughuli ambao ilipeleka ma MCA katika county assembly, wengi wao hawaitambui, kwa sababu kazi ya oversight ni yao. Na swali ambalo tunastahili kuuliza sasa sisi kama wananchi, should go through the county assembly directly to the governor. Na ukiangalia vyema, governor haulizwi maswali na ma MCA, kwa sababu hawa ma MCA kuna vile washawekwa mfuko. Sasa swali lao kwa governor ni tutam. Haiwezekani, kwa sababu mimi ningetaka uniulizie barabara ambayo tumekuwa tukizungumzia, mbona hatutengenezi? Tuna miaka 4 sasa. Kila mwaka tumepata bilioni zaidi ya 14. Budget yetu inafika 23 point something billion per year. Je, mbona tuna complaints kutoka Gilgil, Naivasha all the way to Kuresoi? Mbona barabara hazitengenezwi? Number 2, tunazungumza kuhusu county ambaye sisi wenyewe tuna own revenue ambayo hapa kwa county tunastahili kuwa tunapata kila mwaka. Na ukiangalia vyema imekuwa ikididimia tangu governor alipoondoka. Huyu governor alipoingia, mbona mambo haya yazidi kwenda chini? How can we come from 3 point something billion collection per year to below 1 billion collection per year? So that confirms that we have a problem with the executive that is not fully understanding its role. Haiwezi kufanya majukumu yake kama inavyostahili, kwa sababu hawataki, kazi yao wizi tu.
Asante. Those are some of the comments and sentiments from some of the residents here in Nakuru County, and they are blaming it all to the MCAs, saying that they are not partaking their oversight role in the usage of the county funds. And from here, Nakuru County, allow me still to give it to Nakuru County in Naivasha, where Willie Dennis Njiru is stand by Fred.
Thank you very much, my colleague Chalo, from 67 kilometers away now on the other end of Nakuru County. We are coming to you live from Naivasha here, where we are also going to sample the locals on is devolution working or not. Without further ado, I have a gentleman here who could be telling us, tell us your name, na utueleze kila kitu ambayo inahusu devolution. Unaweza inua kwa kufia kidogo? Asante.
Kwa majina anaitwa Evans. Mimi ni mkaaji wa Naivasha. Na mambo na devolution kumechange sana. Ukiangalia kuna hii mambo ya county na national government. Sio kila kitu imeachiwa imeenda kwa county government. Kuna zingine zinaenda kwa national government. Lakini tukikuja tuangalia pande nyingine, hizi taxes zinakuwa overcharged sana. Tuanze na taxes kama za magari. Kitu ya kwanza tukisema tuanze gari penye imenunuliwa kutoka huko ng'ambo. Huko tuseme inaweza kutoka kwa kama 800,000. Lakini ikianza overtaxiwa za Kenya, unakuta imefika 1.6 million. Unaona imepigwa double. Lakini hizo pesa zinapotea kwenye zinakuja hatujui. Second, hiyo gari bado imekuja tena ikifika Kenya imeanza kuchukuliwa taxes zingine, insurance kama hizi za magari za PSV third party inakuta ni 9,500 per monthly. Tutoke kwa hiyo nini tuende kwa comprehensive, unaweza kuta maybe ni 18,000 monthly, lakini hizo pesa zote zinaenda wapi? Tuenda pale nyingine kama shukari, vitu kama shukari. Hii sweet tunakununua ya 10 bob inakatwa 16% VAT. Kwa hiyo 16% VAT hiyo ni pesa mingi sana ikienda kwa serikali, na ingii kwa county government, inaingia kwa national government. Umeshika. Kando na hiyo tuna mambo na brakes. Hizi gari zote zinakuja na auto spares, zote zinakatwa taxes. Zinaendanga hapo hizo pesa zote. Hiyo ndio mimi naweza nataka kuuliza serikali ama ma MP especially John ndio wanaturepresent kwa national government. CMCA tunajua ni wa county government. Hizi pesa zote zikifika zinaenda wapi? Mimi nikiweza uliza nitauliza tu. Hizi pesa wanachukua zote. Badala watufanyie kazi. Wamekata taxes, hakuna kazi. Hebu angalia hata pande zingine. Job size. Kila mahali ukienda watu wanalia kazi.
Kwa hivyo wewe unasema huenda Kenya iko na avenues za kutosha za kupata pesa, lakini pesa haitumiki vizuri.
Kenya pesa ni mingi sana, na sidhani hata zinafaa kufanya hata kuchukua loan. Tukirudi penye makoti zetu zinatoka, nini tax zetu zinatoka, sidhani tunafaa tuko tumejidepend sisi wenyewe. Ukianzia kwa borders, ukuje hivyo barabara, kutoka kwa barabara uingie, hebu angalia kama fuel rev per liter inakatwa 8 shillings. Hebu ukiapproximate gari ambazo ziko Kenya, na sio siseme gari za PSV ama gari nyingine, unasema sio gari za PSV peke yake, unakuta hizo gari zote zinakatwa 8 shillings per liter. Hata tukipatia hiyo gari tuseme ni tukana gari kama 10 million Kenya peke yake, tuko na gari kama 10 million. Hebu hesabu kila per liter na kuna gari inakunywa 1 liter, kila gari inakatwa 8 shillings. Unakuta ina per day Kenya ikisema inaruzi pesa mingi, kweli itaruzi pesa mingi gari zikirara.
Okay, wacha tusikie kutoka kwa mwingine hapa. Nieleze jina lako na swala zima, is devolution working?
Okay, kwa majina naitwa Simon Wakaba, mimi ni mkaaji hapa Naivasha. Na kitu cha kwanza ni kusema shukrani sana kwa katiba ya 2010 kwa sababu iliweza kutupia devolution. Devolution wakati ambapo unapata maendeleo inakaribia mwananchi. Na unapata for the county government, the governor and the president, so ni tunafaa ku hold accountable. But again we have the MCAs. Is devolution working? Yes, on papers, but kwa ground vitu zinakuwa so different. Why? Unapata wakati nao the county government haiweki pesa ziweze kuchukuliwa electronically, zinachukuliwa na mkono. Example kama hapa Naivasha unapata kama pesa ya mchanga inachukuliwa tu na mkono. Hiyo that is corruption. Unapata kuna mianya mingi ambao haiwezi kufanya kazi, but pesa pia ziko. But now unapata kuna watu ambao wanatuangusha ambao ni key sana kwa hii story, ambao ni MCAs. They need to oversight the governor in terms of ensure maendeleo inafika kwa ground vile inafaa, kwa sababu MCA ni yako kwa ground. Unapata kuna project, kuna miradi ambayo imeweza kukua devolved ama example kama health imekuwa devolved, but tumekuwa na issues mingi sana. Yesterday we had waziri Aden akisema there is no need for public participation. It is something imekuwa devolved, but now unapata now the national government nazipiga kifua for such an issue. Inafaa pia achie county. If kama county ya Laikipia, the health imekuwa devolved, they have the responsibility ya kusema sisi kama county tunaweza make our own decision. Sijui mbona the national government most of the time inapata kuingilia maendeleo ambayo pia inafaa kufanywa na county government. That kuna separation of power, but pia funds inafaa kuwa ziki work. For example, Nakuru County, at the moment we have share ya over 40M tangu nao the governor ambaye aliweza kuingia. But ni miradi gani ambayo tunaweza jivunia kama watu wa Nakuru, and especially here in Naivasha? There is project ambazo kama drainages within hapa zenye zilifaa kuletwa na World Bank. Unapata hizo miradi hazikuletwa kwa sababu the county government haikuweza ku-account for that money. Devolution in a work, but unapata most of the counties, the governors are not doing enough to make sure that the money ambazo zinaweza kuwa corrected na those sub counties, it is not reaching the maendeleo ambayo tunahitaji. Siwezi sema kama we are very proud of whatever is happening in our county, hatuwezi pata maendeleo pasi.
Swali, ukisema sio kamilifu, inafanya kazi lakini sio kamilifu, ni maeneo gani ama hizi pots, hizi mashimo ambazo unasema labda sio vikamilifu ni kama nini? Haswa kama hapa county ya Nakuru.
Example unapata wakati pesa haziyuko, hakuna that electronic kuchukua pesa, hapo ndo kuna those loopholes za kumesho kuna corruption in hakuna utendakazi ambao pia inaweza kufanyika kwa hakuna maendeleo itaweza kufikia wananchi at the end of the day.
Utendakazi upi ambao unaona kidogo haujafikia na ungetaka uweze kufikiwa kikamilifu?
Hapa Naivasha shida kubwa tuko nao ni ya drainage. Sasa tukiangalia our town, but the project kama ya World Bank haikuweza kufika hapa because of now the accountability ya government, the county government haikuweza ku account for that money. Education imekuwa health imekuwa devolved. But ikifika ni story na maendeleo ya katika hospitali unapata hakuna madawa. It is part of the nini. Hakuna CT scan for our level 4 here in Naivasha. Those are issues ambazo zina affect our county.
Naelezwa muda umekwisha. On the same, maybe 10 seconds ama 15 on the same.
Hizo upande wa drainage unakuta mpaka Sodom Weapons zimemea kwa mitaro. Magunia imeziba mitaro yetu ambayo ilikuwa imechimbuliwa. Na hata zingine hazikuwa zimechimbwa vizuri. Unakuta hata zingine zinapopoka zilienda na maji, zingine drainage iko kwa reka. Sasa hata ukianguka sasa hapo hivyo unapotelea tu ni matakataka.
Asante. Naelezwa muda wangu umekamilika. That is it from this part of the country, from Nakuru city to sub-county of Naivasha. We are now headed back to the capital city where we take it over to our team on the breakfast show. That is it from me here in Naivasha. Freddie, you could take it over now from me.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Willie Dennis Njiru, our reporter in Naivasha, and earlier Mike Chalo in Nakuru. Thank you for a good job, well done. And it's clear, and I think even the level of clarity of thought is rather admirable from members of the public when they talk about this. And one thing comes out, they are blaming the MCAs. Most of them are saying that, yes, they feel the money that comes to counties, according to them, is enough. I'm not here to change the narrative and say it's not enough. People on the ground agree that money is enough. But they say the MCAs and their priorities are either misaligned or wameingia kwa mifuko governor, and because of that, they are not oversighting the county. We have an MCA here, Alai. Don't you agree that if these are people in Naivasha and others in Nakuru, hawajakutana mahali wakazungumza.
Yes.
Wanasema the money is enough. The money, even as we debate at the national level whether they should get more, people on the ground are saying money is enough. It's just misaligned priorities. Na MCAs wanafanya mambo yao.
No, I think that the MCAs need to publicize their works more, because I think they're doing much more. I think also we need to, the county assemblies need to engage more with the public, especially now that we are going to the public, the reading of the budgets in the various counties. I think that we need to go like the treasury, the CS treasury has been going to Bunge la Wananchi. I think we need to have more open public platforms, not only the formal public participation forums. I think we need to engage where the people are. We need to publicize their work.
I thought that was already required by law, that the county level, there are set out meetings where members of the public come and give their opinion in the budget-making process at the county level.
I think they're too rigid to have a robust engagement. And also, we are not partnering with the media more to ensure that these forums are public and also, popularized enough to ensure that people get the perspective where the challenges are. Because people talk about the MCAs, they forget that there's something called the Senate. They forget that there's somebody who is a bit up higher in the rank who can properly oversight the governors, because the MCAs face their own challenges internally and also in relations with the county governments, how they were structured. But I think that is a conversation which we need not to throw back to the public. We need to ensure that we are challenged, and we'll talk through the county assemblies forum. We ensure that we partner with the medias, the various medias, even the local medias, because sometimes you engage the national media, then you lead a county like Turkana or Kisii, where the popular media there is a local ethnic radio station there. So we need to find ways of ensuring that the public knows what the MCAs are doing, they're trying to, because I know that the MCAs in Nakuru have been at odds with the governor for some time. I know that most of them don't approve of some of the things which are happening there. So when I hear what the members of the public are saying, I know the challenges of the members, including, you know, the very popular members. They are very vocal on some of these issues, including the MC of Naivasha, where this thing was. I know that, you know, because when we engage in some of the forums, and there have been, and also I think you need to invite more. I think for the first time, TV47 need to find ways of engaging with an MCA from probably Turkana, because some people talk about the MCAs in Nairobi, MCAs in Kiambu, Nakuru. Bring the MCA from Tana River there, and what are the challenges here? I think that we need to expand the forum more, and we'll find a more robust understanding of what kind of challenges we are facing as the representatives of the people at the grassroots level. Yeah.
All right. Osido, whatever people are saying, probably we missed the point because at the national level and looking at what the governors are demanding, what the Senate is asking for and what the national government is giving, we may lose touch with the ground. When people talk about 15 billion shillings, and they know how much has come to the county, and they know the gaps even in own source revenue and the corruption that is there, they still feel that that money that comes is enough to a huge extent. Yet they feel that the priorities, there's a lot that's not being done. Are we wrong when we say that even the little money that goes there could be enough?
Fred, I agree. I agree with the viewers, both in Nakuru town and in Nakuru Naivasha. So that's Naivasha sub-county. To the extent that if you listen to these speakers, they are very informed, despite, of course, some of them having mixed understanding of how governance and all these processes work. But fact of the matter is that they know what they are asking for and what they are actually expecting from the county. This whole thing begins from what is called a CIDP, the County Integrated Development Plan, which really is the overarching plan that is expected to be driven by the county government for the next 5 years in all the processes that are done. So if you listen to them talking about their priorities, they sound like people who have probably even attended some of those CIDP meetings. They have been part of the annual conversations on what is called the ADP, the Annual Development Plan, which is also split or brought or broken from the CIDP. That is where a lot of the budget priorities actually are attached to. So you have a project within the ADP and you give it a budget. So when we listen to them saying we know the money that has come in, it is true that they know. Now the challenge really is partly what Mheshimiwa is saying in terms of the awareness. So when the assembly has broken down this money and you've appropriated it, it is important to help the citizens know that even as you give us the budget, we have what is called the development expenditure, we have what is called the recurrent expenditure. A lot of what we see happening in counties is safeguarding the implementation aspect of the county government. So that is therefore the recurrent, what you expect to do every day, salaries, etc. But when it goes to depart to development, that is why they're even saying we have Sodom's apple that is growing on our drainage, etc. Because it is not clear how therefore communication or engagement with the citizens happen post these mega things. Even as Mheshimiwa Lai says, we need to partner with the media to go and do these town hall meetings on the budget. It doesn't stop there. It has to go into who is getting the tender. This tender is for what? What are you saying in terms of the drainage, in terms of this potholes on the roads?
Yet we understand that some MCAs have managed to corner their respective county executives into awarding them what they call now ward development funds, which is not even provided for in our budgets. That could be part of the problem. That's why they're pointing fingers at the MCA.
It is, and that's partly where now the loopholes for this thing we call development money comes in, because the governor will identify a very vocal MCA like Mheshimiwa Lai and say, what do you want? In fact, the other day, your roads in Kileleshwa were trashy, you are fighting everyone in this area, you want to take this money, enda ujipatie shughuli. So the moment they say enda ujipatie shughuli, they expect that the elected leader needs to understand that this noise that you are making here, go and get yourself busy, because you are a politician, you expect to be re-elected, you have ambitions, you have your own visions. But the broader constitutional expectation of the roles of the MCA should not be compromised, which is to oversight the governor, which is what the viewers are asking for. Ulizeni hayo maswali ngumu so that we are able to understand where our money is going to. Number two, of course, we understand that you are supposed to make laws. So anything that is affecting us, the memoranda we write, the petitions that we submit to you. We want to see action from the assembly, because that action is what will either stop the excesses of the executive, the county government, or support when you pass a law, for example, on valuation rolls, to be able to bring in more money through on-source revenue, and then we see the works that are not being done. And then, of course, is to represent the people, that we cannot be seeing differently. We don't expect that the citizens don't expect that the MCAs, who are their representatives, should be seeing differently from what they are seeing, which is why they are saying you have been compromised. Mmepelekwa Kisumu for some retreat, Siala Resort, mmepelekwa Mombasa, wengine unasikia wanapelekwa hadi Dubai. That is what the citizens are feeling, and they are saying you are not representing us. But if you look at the expectation is that the MCAs crack a balance. And in my view, I think I've been one champion of advocating for strengthening of county assemblies. Even as we talk about the Senate, I get surprised, as Mheshimiwa Alai said, and we see it happening, that you get someone at the assembly, county assembly, and you have no documentation, and you want to bring in excuses, you know. But when you go to the Senate, you actually have boxes that sometimes you have to hire Kuro services to be able to help you support. Why are people compromising the county assembly? Because that is really where citizens who are aggrieved, like the ones that we are listening to, will actually find their first point of call and come and raise concerns, and then ensure that answers are given to them. And that is why even impeachment of governors actually begin at the county assembly, because this is where they sense the strength of accountability, transparency,
first line
integrity.
of oversight.
That is purely the first line of oversight. But as I finish on this, so that he can come in, is also to talk about some of the issues that they've actually addressed. For example, devolution of functions. We have Schedule 4 that determines what functions are done by national government, what functions are done by county government. And we were with you in Homa Bay. If you remember the late former Prime Minister saying, kwa nini Kera na Kura bado wanajigamba na kazi za county zipelekwe kwa county? Is a conversation that we really have to overemphasize and continue to speak about, that functions that have been that have been devolved and are still held by national government should be fully devolved. I know the conversation is going on. It is taking too long. Maybe there is no political goodwill, and we still continue to appeal to the president to ensure that through all these institutions, IBEC, the council that he chairs, that brings together the governors and himself as the chair, really need to begin to strengthen even the IGRT's Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee recommendations on how this process is supposed to be fully completed. Because when we do this, we estimate as County Governance Watch that we'll actually be able to save over 870 to 900 billion for counties just on those roles. When you talk about roads, you talk about health, you talk about housing, you talk about agriculture, you talk about environment. This budget we are talking about has actually allocated about 109 billion for poverty eradication, equity, etc. for the national government. If poverty is actually felt at the county, the local level, why should national government be holding 109 billion?
And that's what they say, that the money should follow the functions and the services. But you've seen the level of understanding.
Yes.
Do you feel there's a gap? Because they seem to understand the functions that the county government is supposed to attend to.
Yes.
They're not asking the county government to do what they're not supposed to.
Yes.
And the clarity of thought is rather impressive.
Yes.
Do you still feel there's a gap in their level of understanding of who is to blame? Because they all know where to point their fingers.
Yes.
And it's at the MCAs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the good thing with the Kenyans, it's a very educated lot. And there are people who love information. Now, to just start where he has talked about the functions. So our citizens know the functions of the county government. And the functions are there in our constitution. I think Schedule 2, Schedule 4, Part B. Okay. So 14 of them are there. Of course, including agriculture, but I still see fertilizer, about 18 billion being given to the national government. Housing, and I still see more than 118 billion going to national government. So those are the functions of the county government. So people know the functions of county government. Now, unfortunately, there are some information which is usually hidden from the public. Now, the law says in fiscal responsibility, I think in Chapter 7 also of the PFM, that 30% should go to development, 70% should go to recurrent, at least. Now, unfortunately, this one happens within the first budget, so that when we do supplementary, we've already spent so much money in recurrent that when we do supplementary, the development money has already been eaten. Now, what eats this development money? Fred, when we came to devolution, about 40% was going to pay salaries. And the law says that you cannot you cannot pay more than 35%. That's also PFM. That 5%, that's the ceiling. Now, counties were supposed to show their efforts to go towards 35%. But unfortunately, today, as we speak, it is at 47%. So in every 100 shilling, 47 shillings goes to pay salaries. So who is supposed to oversight? It is true, the MCAs, but also don't forget the senators. Now, another thing, that 47%, about 7 or so percent goes to the county assembly. That is non-discretionary, and we don't discuss about it because it is supposed to be that way. So more than 50-something% is non-discretionary. We talk about salaries and go to the county. But remember also, from the budget, from the staff emoluments, there is also another part of allowances and also operations and maintenance. So those amounts, even when the controller of budget gives the report, the first report says about 80% of recurrent has been absorbed, but it's only 5, 10, or even 20%, which maximum of development has been absorbed. So where is the dislink here? And the dislink is the oversight fails not from the MCAs, but from the Senate. The senators, the senator in charge of that county has failed. The MCAs of that county may have failed because they are not looking at the books properly and saying, why are we going towards 50%? In fact, some counties are at 54%.
They're basically employment bureaus.
Yes. In fact, I visited some of the counties and they were telling me this is a way of creating employment. Now, you create employment to about 5,000. You forget about 1 million people who are out there waiting for the remaining amount. Unfortunately, nobody talks about it. This is why people are aggrieved. And when we are talking about public participation, when the county assembly, because today county assemblies are supposed to be going to the public to do public participation to the budget which was proposed by the executive, so that by 30th, they may approve the same. But now the question is, do they go and tell the people, by the way, this is how the budget looks? It says 54% is going to the staff emoluments. Is that what you want? Then the people say yes or no, then they go and record. But unfortunately, that one does not happen. We go and rubber stamp public participations. People came, maybe they ate all, they sat and they signed, and they said, this is what is supposed to be done. Every public participation, it's supposed to be informed by actions taken. There's a question which was very important that you asked in the beginning, that why do we balloon? Or why do we say that we will have a budget of 10 billion and we know that we cannot raise the extra 2? The issue also comes back now to the executive and the county assembly. You know, I've served in that position. Now, what happens is, just like in the national government, they say that we want 4.82 trillion budget. But what we have on the table is only 3.6 trillion. So where is the difference, 1.1? Now, the national government is able to borrow. So we will borrow like $1 billion this year. But now the county assembly, but now the county governments do not have that way of borrowing. So it will remain there. And I give a specific example. 2024, 2025, there was a target of about 87 billion of OSR collection. So we did not, yes, collectively, we did not hit 87. We hit 67. So what happens to the difference of 20%? 20 billion. Yet we had allocated, works were given, and all that. So it's also another loophole, or it's another pit that we are going even deeper in pending bills.
All right. We have exactly 3 minutes. No, 2.5 minutes. So back to the question. Are counties getting enough? Mmesikia watu wa Nakuru wamesema they're getting enough. Yeah? And Naivasha, they're getting enough. Let's start with you, Bwana Osido.
For the first time, I imagine that counties are going to get more, because at 420 billion, the proposal that is in the budget,
that's the highest
is the highest ever since we began 2013. The biggest conversation is, what is this money being used for? And counties can get more even if we enhance and strengthen our own source revenue potential.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that the counties are getting more than enough, especially I'm talking about Nairobi County. I don't want to talk about the other counties. And I think that we need not to get more than we're getting from the exchequer today. I'm seeing a lot of support from the national government. I hope that it ends with the 2027. After that, I think that we need to, because we have proposed systems which can better, formalizing the informal economy, ensuring a lot of rates are not collected from the informal operatives. And I think that we can get much more. We can get to 80, 90, 100 billion in Nairobi. Nairobi is the city, is a premium address in the country. I don't think that it should be collecting less than 10 billion the way it's doing. I think that we are not ambitious enough, we are not formal enough, we are not bringing order. When you see disorder anywhere, is an opportunity for revenue, for the government. And when we see a lot of disorder, and even the people, you see adverts on street lights, then somebody tells you there's no revenue. If anybody has an advert on a street light, they should be charged with vandalism, which is not working. If the light is working, they should provide proof that they paid for, for that service. So I think that the counties, especially Nairobi City County, should not get enough. I don't think that we should be getting more than 21 billion. We are getting now.
Finally.
The question is from who? One, we are not getting enough from our own source revenue. We should get enough. Then from the other place, from the national government. We are not getting enough from the national government. Why? Because national government have decided to take the works, obligations and assignments, responsibilities of the county governments. So the national government should give the county governments what is supposed to be theirs. Like for instance, what I've just said about fertilizer, agriculture, even health, even some roads. When you talk about better, the KK government with a better, it's supposed to be seen more going to the counties rather than being held in the national government. So in both ways, the counties are not getting enough, either from the national government, equitable share. They are also not getting enough from their own source revenue. And that would be my take.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. This year, I think from the equitable share, for the very first time, 420 billion shillings will go to the counties, which is about 35 billion shillings more. And this means that the counties are going to get more than they've ever gotten. But the question still remains, do you feel the county governments are doing enough with what they get from wherever, own source revenue or even from the equitable share? Thank you so much, Murungi Ndai, who's a public finance expert, Robert Alai, MCA Kileleshwa, and Kevin Osido, who's governance specialist and also executive director of County Governance Watch. The debate has been about counties and budgets. Are counties getting enough money? This is a conversation that will definitely continue, even as we look at the national budget as well. After the break, we switch gears, talk about matters something else. Ann Odida will be here in studio with that conversation. And later on, we talk man to man. When a father is missing, who takes up the responsibility? So don't go anywhere and keep the conversations going on our social media pages. See you later.